SOTpay, the secure order transfer story. Gala Technology are the development team behind the industry's leading pay-by-link solution, SOTpay. Here's some history on this technology's development. The frustration of Galatent, our sister company and the UK's largest marquee and gazebo manufacturer, led to the creation of SOTpay. They ran into several issues in 2012 when processing card-not-present payments. So what issues did they encounter when processing payments? In 2012, the consumer would place an order over the phone, converse with a sales agent, and then be asked to read out sensitive card information, including the card's long number, expiry date, and the 3 numbers on the reverse. The agent then handled that data, either entering it into a virtual terminal or a chip and pin machine. The card handling system would then ask 2 straightforward questions. Has the card been reported lost or stolen? And are there sufficient funds to cover the transaction? If the answers to both questions were considered fine, then the payment would be approved and the merchant would receive the funds. However, there are 3 main pain points that organisations would suffer, and still do to this day, if they process payments in this way. PCI Compliance is the first pain point that organisations experience: the data security standards for the payment cards industry. When someone provides or reads out sensitive card data that is handled by one of the employees, it enters the working environment, which then triggers the PCI requirements. As a result, it is that merchant's obligation to ensure that the card data is not compromised. At that time, Galatent processed over 23,000 telephone payments annually, which meant that a lot of card information was being circulated throughout the office, which was their primary concern. The second concern was chargebacks driven along by fraud. In 2012, a customer gave their credit card information to a contact centre agent over the telephone, and the agent typed it in. The transaction was authorised after 2 fundamental checks were made. Therefore, the items were picked, packed and delivered the following day, but the card was ultimately stolen. Galatent was unaware of this until 2 weeks later, when the genuine cardholder, who had never dealt with Galatent, received their credit card statement and was surprised to see a £9,000 order with them. That genuine cardholder got in touch with their bank to report what they thought was a fraud. The bank informed Galatent by a chargeback letter that the cardholder was disputing the payment, and that if the business could not provide proof that the cardholder had agreed to make the payment in accordance with the terms and conditions of the merchant agreement with the acquirer, then they would be liable. And just to add more pain, the banks charged £25 for that letter. Because it was only a voice on the other end of the phone reading out some credit card details, the business was unable to prove or confirm that the customer had authenticated the payment. Because they lacked evidence of who was making the payment, the company was ultimately responsible for paying the chargeback connected to the fraud. They lost £9,000 worth of product and had to return the entire £9,000 to the genuine cardholder. Customers were asked to provide copies of their passports, utility bills and driver's license to try and validate the transaction. But you can imagine the customer journey and labour costs. As a result, there were further business losses. Such checks do not protect you from the risk of fraud-related chargebacks either. Things became worse for the business when they were added to a list of prime targets on the dark web, where a myriad of fraudsters went shopping, and the business was slapped with around £50,000 in chargeback related to fraud in a single month. The third pain point experienced by Galatent came in the form of increased payment processing costs. When a company cannot identify the person making the remote payment, the transaction is not considered secure, so the acquirer may levy an additional fee in the form of higher processing rates. Galatent paid these charges at the time, which were a 0.5% surcharge on those transactions, which had an annual cost of £40,000. With the difficulties of PCI compliance, chargebacks brought on by fraud, and rising processing prices, Galatent searched for a solution, but was unable to find any. As a result, their CEO, Jason Mace, directed his IT group to develop one, and that solution was SOTpay. One of the most prestigious payment solutions available on the market today, SOTpay has won awards that include Best International Card Not Present Solution at a major industry awards in San Francisco for 4 years straight. It has also won Payments Innovation of the Year, Security Innovation of the Year, and many other major honours. The PCI Council revised its guidance in 2018 to include our digital approach, and that we have received back-to-back global PCI awards for excellence is one of the things we are most proud of.